in the book of Genesis, I see the first commandment that God gave to Adam and Eve is, do not eat from the tree of good and evil. Tree of knowledge of good and evil. That is the first commandment God gave. God didn't give any other command for them, if you notice. No other area was touched, but it was the test of food. Food test was given, the first test. God told them, you may eat any fruit from the garden, but not from the tree of good and tree of knowledge of good and evil. You are not supposed to eat from that tree. And what happened? Satan, in the form of serpent, he came craftily, and how he tempted Eve. With what he tempted? What was the temptation to Eve? It's not like today, bad videos. It's not like today, bad company, lying. It was not like today. There is so much of corruption in the world, right? But what was the temptation that Satan gave to Eve? He told, did God really say that you shall not eat from this tree? So what did Eve say? Eve said, yes, God told I should not eat from this tree, and I should not only eat, I should not even touch it. Did God say not to touch it? You can put up that verse, you can show them that verse. So the verse is, did God really say not to eat? And she tells, God told me not to eat and also not to touch it. You know that, all of you know that verse. But then, did God say not to touch it? No, God told you can touch it, but God said you are not supposed to eat. Why you can touch it? You are supposed to touch it, you are supposed to pluck it, you are supposed to take it and go and give it as an offering to God. God wanted to give that fruit, God wanted you to give that fruit as offering to Him. God wanted Eve and Adam to take that fruit and say, God, we sacrifice this to you. But what they did, they took the fruit and ate, because that was the test. And Satan tempted them, saying, did God really say? God had commanded them not to eat, and they failed in the food test. They failed. If only Adam would have asked this question, Eve, what are you eating? If only Eve would have asked this question, what am I eating? Probably she would have stopped. She would have refrained from eating. From there, everything began. Fall of man, curses, shortage of length of days, all the disease, every sickness came from the fall of man, because they failed to follow and obey the commandment of forbidding the fruit. So that was the first mistake, the first sin that Adam and Eve did. And throughout the Bible we see people have failed when it comes to eating. They have changed their destiny. They have lost their future. They have lost the blessings and good things that God had kept for them. Like who? Like Esau. You remember Jacob and Esau, they were two brothers. Jacob and Esau were twins, two brothers. Esau was elder one and Jacob was younger one. Esau was a hunter. He goes out hunting and he comes back. He's hungry. And Jacob is cooking in the kitchen and he has made very tasty lentil soup. And Esau smells the taste of the lentil soup. And Esau says, Jacob, could you please give me your soup? I am hungry. I am starving to death. What Jacob says, Esau, I'll give you food, but before that you have to sell me your birthright. If you sell me your birthright, I will give you my soup. Esau says, what is this birthright? Useless birthright to me at this point of time when I am starving to death. You take this birthright and give me your soup. Give me the food that you are eating. And Jacob, he makes Esau to promise. He promises, he swears. He says, can you swear that you will sell your birthright? He swears to Jacob, take my birthright, give me your food. And he gulps the soup, he eats the food. He fails to honor the birthright that God had given him. He loses his birthright. He changes his destiny. God had great future for him. But what happened? Because he gave to the cravings of his flesh, he didn't exercise self-control. His children became just like him. They became Edomites. And Jacob, who honored the birthright, who honored the blessing of God, who had the control over the food, he said, I value this and I need it. And he deceives and goes and gets the blessing from the father. What happened to him? He became Israel, and his 12 children were selected as the tribes of Israel. God.